I kind of emceed arts events and stuff, I feel like I'm up here supposed to be introducing somebody else. But I'm going to start with my thank yous. So top of my list, obviously, Dan Bulger, New Ireland. New Ireland took a chance on me, like they really took a chance on me. We met in the Central Hotel and had a glass of wine, and it all felt really good and positive. And then I went across the road to a wine bar of my own, and I was laughing out loud on the street. Because it was basically based on one story, Somat, that was in the Long Gaze Back, and they put an awful lot of faith in me. I wouldn't call it blind faith, but they probably had a bit of Vaseline on their glasses, you know. They let me go away and write for a few months, and that was quite terrifying. Dan was absolutely brilliant. I couldn't believe that he managed, because I know so many aggressive people, and I'm really aggressive myself. There's no passive left in me. And Dan managed to be really gentle all the time, and then he had a kind of a glove on him with barbed wire wrapped around it, and he'd kind of punch you without you realising it, but then he'd be really nice to you. So he was great. He was really tough, and he asked some very important questions, and he was remarkable as an editor because he spotted things nobody else spotted in these stories. And I'm in 2 kick-ass writing groups, and I was doing the Sting and Fly course at the same time, and Dan still managed to spot things that nobody else did. And he was also really gracious and very patient, because I was completely manic, and every time I sent him a story I'd send him 20 versions, 25 versions, and he said he used to wait for 20 minutes because I'd be sending him. So and I think when it was all in and done, he was just so happy, because I thought we were all so happy that we got there. New Ireland have been absolutely brilliant. I just have had the most amazing experience with them. Hannah Shorten as well, the PR staff, everybody was just so fantastic all the time, and I'm kind of blown away by that experience. You always expect, you say yes to a publisher, and then you always expect them to be a bit shit to you, you know? Writers do. We live in fear of agents and publishers, but they were fantastic. Honestly, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. That was crazy good. I think I have an idea for a novella, so we might leave it 4 weeks and we might meet up again in the Central Hotel. Have another really bad pregnancy and then a nice baby at the end of it. But and secondly, Sinead Gleeson, Jesus Christ, like that's that's true about Devitt's. When we sat in Devitt's, like we were completely like, you know, will we ever write, you know? And after each pint, you were on the G&Ts, I was on the pint of Guinness. I was wondering why you were skinny and why I was fat. And after every further pint, it was like, will we do it? Are we ever going to? We will do it. We will do it. After 10 pints, it's like, we're going to fucking do this. But it just seemed, the years seemed to go by, and I was looking after sick people and all that kind of thing. And I felt the guilt that follows you around when you have a compulsion to write and you're not writing is dreadful. It really is a form of depression. You know you need to write, you're not doing it, it's just hellish. And Sinead would poke me up the ass every now and then. She'd send me an email, have you still not written anything, are you writing, I really want to see something from you, you know. And just like to have that all the time, to have somebody focus on you like that and believe in you was just so incredibly special. So thank you, Sinead, and we're going to continue to be friends, obviously. I'm not going to drop you now that I got here. Yeah, and then just writers groups for anyone who's trying to write, wants to write, dreams of writing, can't write, should write. A writers group. I can't kind of you know, say this enough, but joining a really good writers group. I formed it myself because I was so pissed off doing courses, and I'd sent in some rubbishy bits and pieces to competitions, and I kept getting on long lists and short lists. And the Penguin crowd, I was back at their gig every year and not having advanced, and they actually started to know what sandwich I liked. This is getting really disturbing. I need to do something. I need to kind of move this on a notch. And having a really good writers group, having other eyes on your work is fantastic. And again, they spot things you don't spot. And so I want to say thank you very much to Brooks Writers Group. You're kick-ass. We meet every 2 weeks in Brooks Hotel. I'm not telling you what time. And then the Sting and Fly, our gorgeous writers group, Sting and Fly, that we did the course in the last 6 months. They were absolutely fantastic. And then I just really wanted every one of you here, like, I mean, the literary community, I know it's all a bit insular and inward looking sometimes, and we go to readings and it's all the same people, and we should be just reading in our own sitting rooms at this stage, knocking on each other's front doors, but there's such great camaraderie, and you know, like in those quiet times when I was just at home looking after people, and you're sitting writing in your pajamas and you're going mental. Just the odd email from someone saying, June, would you like to, you know, fling your hand at something and write and come and read at this event? It just meant so much. Colin Keegan and Dave Lorden and those people who just kept me in the loop, that was really important as well. So I just think the literary community here is gone. No. Yeah, and also the Irish Writers Centre, that was a fantastic resource. I went in there, actually went in to join as a member one day, and I got duped into serving coffee behind the counter. I was like, this is so typical of me, I only come in to pay the 50 quid membership bill. And I ended up volunteering there, and then I worked there yes, for a good while, and you got to sit in on courses for free, and that was fantastic because I sat in on some amazing short story courses with Mike McCormick and Sean O'Reilly, and they really did kind of whack me into place, so that was great. Much better than a master's, but we won't go on about that. So yeah, so that's who I want to thank, and absent people, I'm not going to bother thanking my ma, she's not here, or people who are dead and all that stuff, although the book is dedicated to my brother. So yeah, I wanted to say something just very briefly about the short story, because somebody was asking me today, you know, when you start writing and you have notions about yourself, you always think that I'm going to be a novelist because they're like surly and smarmy and riddled with distemper, and I thought that might suit me. And the short story always seemed really inaccessible to me, like when I was on one of those creative writing masters. Yeah. When I was, anyone here from Queens? When I was on the masters, like the thing is with the short story, you always hear the same names. It was always, you know, Chekhov, James Joyce, Hemingway, and it drives me mental, you know, Hemingway's tips, Chekhov's tips for writing. I just want to let you know, Chekhov was born in 1860, Joyce in 1882, Hemingway in 1899, you know, like they were great, but like, you know, lads. And Hemingway, yeah, so Chekhov, in the year that Hemingway was born, Chekhov wrote that story, The Lady and the Dog. If you do any writing course anywhere, you will hear endlessly about the lady and the dog. And it's a married Russian banker who has an affair with a woman who's just sitting on a bench with her dog. What else would women be doing, yeah? And maybe the story is still relevant today, I don't know, because obviously, you know, you won't get the same kind of ride from a banker today. He might try and sell you a dilapidated apartment block in Castlebar with a couple of floors missing or something. But anyway, so you hear this over and over, and James Joyce, right? You hear this, you know, James Joyce, The Dead, it's the best story that, you know, and it's like, sure. I loved the idea that James Joyce made a pact with the devil. He was like, please, just let me write the best short. No one fucking understood Finnegan's Wake. They hadn't a clue what was going on. Let me write a brilliant short story. And the devil says to him, I will, but like every time some arsehole academic in the world says The Dead is the best story that's ever written, you have to wake up. Spin in your grave. So Joyce is there now, I'm bleeding knackered, let me go and sleep, please. So no, I love those writers, they're fantastic, but for me it was like, you know, let's try and make it relevant. I mean, at the same time, Charlotte Gilmans-Perkins wrote The Yellow Wallpaper. That wasn't on the MA. But yeah, and it's a fantastic story, but I never thought that short stories, they were stuffy and kind of sacred and inaccessible, and they didn't apply to me or my life. And I came back from Belfast in 2010, and I remember I was working at the Writers Centre, and there was 2 anthologies there from the Sting and Fly, Let's Be Alone Together, and I think These Are Our Lives, and I remember picking them up and reading them, and just kind of laughing my ass off and thinking, these are brilliant, they're relevant, they're quirky, they're fun. They're also very literary, but they're about modern life. I can understand what's going on, I can see how it's relevant. And it got me interested in writing short stories. And I think for somebody like me who's just a complete neurotic, it's a really good time to write, because communication has gone so crazy that, you know, there's Snapchat and Instagrams, and, you know, we can write any way we want now, and we can express ourselves any way we want. We don't have to do that subtle shit anymore of, you know, a short story is all about what's not said, you know. Move on, mate, you know, like when Chekhov and all that. I just looked this up today, like they didn't even have electricity back then. We're flying to the moon now, it's time to move on a notch. So yeah, and I started reading modern short story writers, and because the men had been foisted on me, I started reading kind of women and kind of being proactive that way. and Janice Galloway and Amy Bender. Somebody sent my cat a collection of Amy Bender's short stories. Completely freaked me out. Addressed to Cloudy Caldwell at my address. It took me about 3 months to find out who it was. But yeah, so I started reading lots of modern short story writers, and then I just started writing them. I never thought I would. And Belinda McKeown, very kindly, her full blurb for this book was, you know, June's unbothered by the rules. It's like, I don't know the rules to be unbothered by them. It's really sweet that you said that, because now it looks like I've been really clever. But in fact, I'm just kind of, you know. But anyway, I hoped what I set out to do with these stories was to try and write each one differently with a different voice. And because I had the background in journalism, and I was a shy journalist and I hated it, but because I had that background, like the very first story that I wrote that's in this book was the man that lives in a tree, the man who lives in a tree. Because I saw there's a guy up in Broadstone living in a tree for ages. He was there for about 1.5 years, and he used to just kind of wander up the tree at night time. The locals were giving him a bit of hassle in the local pub and stuff. And I thought it was extraordinary that no newspaper picked it up or no one wrote about him. And I wanted to try and imagine how he ended up there and what his life was like. And I heard he was kind of carted off to the madhouse in the end, because he got kind of abusive back with the people who were abusing him, so he got carted off. And so other stories, like there is kind of like some meta-fictional qualities in this, but if you think you're one of the characters, you're just mentally ill, because I'm really not interested in writing about you, so don't get too paranoid. But things like dystopia, right? A journalist friend of mine said to me, he interviewed a cop, and this was a story about a junkie who got his arse mugged on Talbot Street. It's actually a true story, and that the newspaper he worked for thought it was too unsavoury to write it up as a news story, and I went, right, I'll have that. Natterbean, which I'm going to read from in a minute, was from a taxi driver. I got in to a taxi one day out in the Mun, and drug addict, right? I was trying not to say junkie because I'm trying to be PC here, right? A junkie walked out in front of the taxi, and your man goes, taxi driver goes, I fucking hate them Natterbeans. I was like, Natterbeans? And he's like, yeah, every time they get into the car, they're like, I'm Natterbean up at the clinic. I was like, oh my god, that's so brilliant. I'm robbing that, I'm robbing it. You know, because that's Joyce right there, isn't it? You know, straight out of the gob of a taxi driver. I love taxi drivers, absolutely love them. And I rob from them all the time. So there's some element of truth in the stories, and I hope they have some substantiality that way. You know, and some of them, obviously, I don't know the kinky people who were in the cage, in case you think I do. I do know a few kinky people though, we all do, right? So there's other stories that are true, not true, some true, half true, but they're all fiction. So I'm going to read from Natterbean, just because the story always makes me laugh. I hope I can do it now without fucking it up after 3 glasses of wine. Okay, so here we go. And thank you so much everybody for turning up. I'm just so happy to see you. I can't believe this feels so surreal. So here we go, Natterbean. So you know the background of the story now. He knew he smelt like a sardine, but that's what Polish beer does to a man on a low wage. With names like Tea Tree, Tisky and Zhuik, he may as well have been downing fermented donkey piss the night before. The smug, knotty face on the bent cop who ran the off-licence on a privately paid for unflappable hip made him madder than a hacksaw. To top it off, he woke to Gina's screaming blue butchery as he forgot the green lentils again, on a whole food buzz since her arse went all weather balloon. He still hadn't got around to sorting out the monkey business with her, burrowing in his chest hair for 6 torturous weeks. But today it was the thoughts of Natterbeans that was pushing him comprehensively into the dark place. Swarming the roads and cycling lanes, using his waxed bonnet at traffic lights as a fat walking stick to get them to where they didn't remember they had to go on the other side. If he'd half a brain or a quarter of a heart, he'd feel sorry for the fuckers, but they were a type of celestial cabbage he loaded. When he passed Fannigan's funeral home with the overflowing bottle bins slumped at its gates, bits of torn brown tights flying from the tangled railings of an Elwyn's wet dream, one of them hopped in all lickety-spit. All right, bro, you and me are mates, aren't we? You're not going to give me any jip, because I'm having a fuck of a day, like. I'll pay you good, though, yeah? I'll see you all right when I get me glasses, as me old ma used to say. But I never really knew what she meant. Mas are fucking mad, aren't they? You know what I'm going at, don't you, yeah? I'll shut me trap now, we'll probably get there quicker. Isn't that the way, bud? You from around here? Where are you off to, he asked. knowing that to politely remove the plank from the back seat after he'd pressed the fare button would be undue hassle. Just tell me where we're heading to so we can make a move. The roads ahead, slippy and slimy, he'd have to drive slow, meticulously, sunk stupid in Knackerbean's backdoor trot splattering from his gob. Well, I tell you what, I'm not being up at the clinic and they were fucking me around because he says I ain't got a prescription or that I have a yoke in me doing anyways, but I don't have no more and I have to head up to this other gaff up around East Street and talk to a Mr. Doherty who'll sort me out with another clinic till the fingers won't get word of where my prescription went to. One hand doesn't know what's scratching the nabs of the other. Bunch of bleeding jokers. Look, where are we going to? He asked again. Not so politely this time, adding that he wants to see the cash. Out with the spondoolies, I need to know if you can sort the fare. Stall the ball there, bud. Don't be going all Donald Trump of me. Think I'm just another dopey trackie, do you? But come here. I'm not being up at the cash machine, so we're good to wangle. I'm not fucking dense. I can answer most questions on the chase. Do you watch that, do you? I fucking love that programme. Gassed away the greedy bollocks to say they're going to buy a gaff and then they go home with fuck all and then fat chasers ram them up the hole. He'd been stung too many times lately by the likes of him. The last Knackerbean, he had to reef him back into the car through the front window by the scruff. So far gone, so wasted, so emaciated, he would have been able to do a runner through a cat flap if he'd had his Jiminy bits about him. That particular night he drove like a gazelle with a rocket up its shite pipe, through the port tunnel, up past the airport, out into the spuds and strawberries for sale countryside with its vulgar pretend Tudor houses and breaded chicken breasts with pineapple pubs, dumping him in a field without his Nikes or bubble down jacket. A few hard farewell slaps, took his social welfare and medical cards just so he'd forget who he was supposed to be. Left him at the hem of humanity for the dawn to deal with. It's nice to be nice, you know, don't be all rough bud like one of them bleeding leg breakers. Didn't I tell you we were going up as far as Meath Street? I'm not there being in 2 Joe Maxis and they were like the same as that. I've plenty of paper on me, so I have. I'll give you extra if you wait for us. I'll give you a tenner up front now. Alright, bud? Even though your clock only says a 5 so far, how's that for a bargain bucket? Do me a favour, he said, this time pulling the taxi over to the side of the road before they headed further into the cesspit. Will you try and shut your hoop on the way? I can't concentrate if someone's nattering constantly. Trying to keep me mincers on the traffic, nothing personal. I'm sure you're a nice fella, blah blah blah. But we'll get on much better if we can get there as quickly and as peacefully as we can. He adjusted the mirror to take a closer look. Knackerbean had the same mushroom pallor and knee-jerkiness as the others, but with a thin, pointy face that was extra alert. Morning fox in an industrial estate looking for crane flies. His uneven shoulder and busted nose were typical, teeth yellow as corn on the cob, stinking of lynx over dirt and cherry bubblegum. As he drove past Glasnevin Cemetery, he was reminded of the tour guide who supped the pints in his local boozer. He'd been beaten on about how the bodies of the rich were interred in fancy private tombs, but in recent times Knackerbeans were breaking in the dead of night, pricking themselves and the ghosts with heroin needles. The ornamental pathways planted with Lebanon cedar, oak, beech and yew were spattered with blood and empty tato bags. Soon they'd be in sight of the quays and he'd be rid of them, circling back to grab a few surefire fares from the airport. You'll have to read on, folks, to find out what happened to that. Right, so now for the really serious business, we're heading to the Duke upstairs for a couple of pints. I'd love if any of you could join me. There's a free book for the person who manages to stay the longest. I don't buy my friends, honestly, but I did bring a few extra books. So thank you so much for turning up. Thank you very much for supporting me, and I hope to see you at the pub. And thanks everyone.